Good morning. This is Wednesday of the first full week of our Lenten season. And no doubt by now you participated in Mass on Ash Wednesday and received those blessed ashes on your forehead. And we've now begun the first full week of the Lenten season. And it's interesting to note that the Church starts the full weeks of the Lenten season with one of the gospel descriptions or narrations of Jesus being tempted by Satan in the desert. And I think that's important for us to understand on any number of levels, and a great deal over the course of the centuries has been written by many Catholic theologians. Some of the greatest saints have written sermons and preached sermons on the temptations of Jesus by Satan in the desert. But there's one thing that from Sunday's Gospel, which was St. Luke's narration of Jesus being tempted by Satan, that he notes as the gospel was coming to a conclusion. And after Jesus rejected all of Satan's temptations and turned the tables, if you will, on Satan himself, St. Luke notes that Satan departed from him for a while, something to that effect, which clearly indicates that Satan wasn't done with trying to tempt God himself. That's very revelatory for you and for me as we go through each day of the Lenten season, doing our best to be faithful to our prayers, our almsgiving, and being faithful and persevering in our acts of penance and mortification. Satan does not stop after one temptation which you or I reject. He doesn't go after people whom he knows have no faith. He goes after you and me who are striving mightily from day to day, whether it's Lent or it's not Lent, to live the good, faithful, virtuous life in imitation of Jesus. And the lesson, one of the lessons we learned from last Sunday's Gospel, and we see it verified by the rest of the gospel passages, and each of the four evangelists, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, as they describe the public life of Jesus right through his passion, death, and resurrection from the dead. Satan is always there, stalking and questioning Jesus, and he does so through the weaknesses of the scribes, the Pharisees, the chief priests, Pontius Pilate, King Herod, all of them. They fall under the influence of Satan. And so it's something that we too should keep in mind, but also we should take a great deal of consolation and strength from what the temptation of Jesus is teaching us, is that if Satan is bold enough to tempt Jesus, whom he knows very well is the Son of God, the second person of the most blessed Trinity, if he's willing to tempt Jesus, we won't be exempt from his temptations. But what we need to do is to constantly keep in our minds and in our hearts the example Jesus gives us. Don't give in to these things which raise doubts in our minds about God, about our faith, about the church. Those are temptations that we need to reject. And so all the more important is the discipline of Lent, which we've just begun. And that is faithfulness to our daily prayers, if at all possible, be at Mass every day. Be sure to go to confession as often as you think it's necessary to go to confession. That fortifies us. And then, based on our fidelity to prayer and Mass and confession, then we're better able and far more willing to extend ourselves in charity to other people, and we certainly then better understand the value of doing penance, acts of self-mortification. They don't have to be huge things, but they should be things that help us rid ourselves of obstacles to our relationship with Almighty God. And certainly, Satan will tempt us to cut corners or even skip some of the discipline of Lent. Because if we devote ourselves truly to the discipline of Lent, he has no way of entering into our daily lives to tempt us away from Christ and away from the life of virtue. And so early as it is in the season of Lent, I encourage you, as often as possible, go to daily Mass, receive the sacrament of penance, be faithful to what you've committed yourself to do as far as acts of penance and self-mortification, and certainly what you've committed yourself to do to works of charity and those works of mercy. And so as we are only a week into our Lenten season, I pray for all of you, and I ask your prayers as well, that together we will come to Easter Sunday reinforced and reinvigorated in our faith and in our hope and in our charity.